You know, when people talk about green jobs, a lot of times they think about specifically installing solar panels or manufacturing windmills. And, you know, those jobs are real. There's absolutely a lot of work to be done there. But there's a lot more work just across the entire economy. When you look at investment in clean energy and compare it to investing the same dollars in traditional fossil fuels, you find that there's 3 to 4 times the numbers of jobs involved in each of those activities. For example, energy efficiency means that you need carpenters and insulators, you need window manufacturers. It's traditional jobs across the blue-collar economy, also in design and engineering professions. But this isn't some sort of, you know, jetpack, space age, you know, new wave of jobs. It's traditional stuff that we know how to do well. It's innovative investments in manufacturing and advanced technology and skilled construction and skilled manufacturing. So it really, we think of investments in a green economy as just a better, smarter strategy for investing in the economy overall to produce more innovation and more efficiency. And ultimately it leads to a more competitive economy as well.
Earlier this week, Bracken, the President trotted out the 800,000 jobs number in relation to the push and the stimulus funding, and certainly a lot of jobs have been created through that. But is it realistic to think that these jobs will stick around, or does it take another big push to keep them afloat?
Solving global warming and retooling the foundation of our economy to run on clean energy is going to take a lot of investment. And that investment is going to come from a number of places. Some of it will be direct public investment. It'll be one-time investments in rewiring the electrical grid. Some of that will be government money. Some of it will be loan guarantees. But an awful lot of it is going to be private capital investment. It's going to be banks lending to firms that believe they can make a profit by helping make America run more efficiently and really the whole world run more efficiently on cleaner energy. So the one-time investment of the Recovery Act was critically important for not only getting the economy moving, jump-starting this incredible global downturn that we had from a freezing up of economic demand. It was critically important to have the Recovery Act to drive new investment and new demand into the economy. President Obama, in the Recovery Act, made one of the most historic investments in clean energy in American history. $80 billion went to everything from high-speed rail and transit to a smart electricity grid to advanced battery manufacturing, manufacturing of solar panels and wind turbines, and very significantly for energy efficiency retrofits of homes. Each one of these investments helped jumpstart demand immediately in critical sectors in construction and manufacturing that had been very hard hit. But more importantly, it jump-started demand for firms. You know, whether you're making ball bearings or manufacturing insulation, these are private industries, and creating the consumer awareness, creating the demand is helping to jump-start long-term markets that are going to be sustained by private capital investment. It's critical to have both pieces. And ultimately, the private and the public investment that we saw in the Recovery Act is a short-term, one-time event. But over time, what we're going to be moving into in the whole green jobs conversation is how do we create the right incentives? How do we drive down the cost of capital? And how do we start jump-starting really robust markets so that the economy overall can do the work of reducing our carbon emissions and deploying a whole new wave of innovative technology.
I recently saw a comment from the President, I believe it was SG Solar, but it was someone from the solar sector who said, let's be honest, the driving force for green job growth with the green sector is economic, it's not ethical. In other words, that battling climate change is certainly a factor, but it's the economics that drive successful companies and create positions. And to that extent, this is about policy, right?
Well, it's critically important to recognize that this is an economic transition. It's the whole problem of global warming is an environmental problem that comes about from our economic system. And it's critically important to understand that the consequences of global warming, if left unattended, are devastating to the economy. So the most costly, most dangerous path is to do nothing. And that has a tremendous economic as well as an environmental dimension. But the CEO you were talking about was exactly right. The thing that is going to actually make this transition to a low carbon and highly efficient energy path is going to be the decisions of many, many firms, many, many homeowners and investors acting through the market. Global warming is the biggest market failure we've ever had in human history. We are threatening the underpinnings of our entire economy, the fabric of our environment. You know, that's how we get agricultural productivity. That's how we get all of the inputs to a thriving and prosperous economy. That's a tremendous economic failure if we're attacking that very foundation for our prosperity. So fixing it is entirely appropriate for policy. The market acting on its own can't solve this problem. We need the right policy signals in terms of the costs of our energy, the real costs of pollution, and making sure that when people, firms, individuals, consumers make their decisions in the market, they're making smart decisions, not only in terms of the short-term return for them personally, but in terms of the long-term direction that the economy is taking. And that's nothing new. You know, we've always regulated for human health, for public safety. It's very appropriate to have policies that improve our national security and make the economy more competitive. It's new that we're understanding that green issues, that clean energy is fundamental to the success of our economy, to the success and security of our whole society over the long term.
If it were fundamental to the excess of our economy, it would have been done decades ago. I know.
Yeah. It's that's right.
Is it possible to break it down, Bracken, sector by sector? We always lump everything together as clean energy or renewables, but is there one where you see bigger growth than another potentially?
Yeah, and looking at this as a sectoral economic strategy rather than some sort of environmental, do-good thing is really the right way to look at it. And there's a number of ways that green jobs are important for our economic success. One is preserving existing jobs by making them green. And you can see this very directly in the auto industry and all of the manufacturing supply chains, whether it's glass or electronic wire harnesses or metal fabrication. There are jobs across the United States, things we do very well now. The green market is just another way to innovate within our existing auto industry, within our existing advanced appliance manufacturing. So green jobs in that case are the jobs that we save by expanding the market with new technology and innovation.
So this is the same skill set and essentially same products, but different end usage? Different
end uses and innovative applications. A green building is a more advanced building. It's a more state-of-the-art building. You're using computer technology, you're using advanced materials. So the green market is a way to drive innovation into existing industries, whether you're making wallboard or windows or ball bearings. Green jobs also importantly are the new jobs that we're creating, demand for entirely new products, entirely new services, whether it's home energy auditors. That's a class of employment that didn't exist before. But within the next decade, across the entire society, we're going to see a strong demand for people to retrofit their homes for energy efficiency, to weatherize, to replace windows. That's going to require a whole new skill set. So that's a demand for new jobs that will be driven into the economy. And in a host of other ways, we're transforming jobs and we're creating jobs by recognizing these new markets.
Bracken, final question. Is it an oversimplification to say that critics of these plans, traditional fossil fuels to a large extent, when they talk about job losses, that the reality is more of a job migration? Yeah,
there is absolutely, I think, unquestionably, there is a net job gain by going to a green economy. There are about 3.5 times the number of jobs, the labor content for every dollar invested in renewable energy and energy efficiency, if you compare it to investing the same dollars in coal. It's about 4 times the number of jobs in efficiency and renewables if you compare that to investing the same amount of dollars in oil. However, if we are moving off of fossil fuels, there potentially will be some disruptions, some shifting demand, specifically in extractive industries. For coal miners, there's very legitimate concern about the impact on mining-dependent communities. For folks who are involved in oil, offshore oil drilling or oil refining, there are very legitimate concerns about how that transition takes place. Because there are more net jobs overall, very significantly more jobs in a green economy, there's an opportunity to make sure that those folks are made whole, that new dollars are invested in coal mining communities, that it's an opportunity for economic development, that auto workers aren't left with no job, but that they end up in jobs manufacturing lithium-ion batteries or advanced wind turbines or electrical systems. But that's not inevitable. That's a policy choice, and it will only come about by looking at this as an economic transition. We have to do it. The fate of the planet is, at stake here. The fate of the economy is at stake here. If we fail to anticipate and manage the transition that is inevitable as we move away from fossil fuels and move away from a wasteful use of low-cost energy, and recognize that we have a world where billions of people are going to be demanding cars, demanding oil and coal, we're going to have higher price energy, we're going to have more pollution and more limits on access to traditional fossil fuels unless we make this shift. As soon as we recognize that, there's a lot that we can do to make sure that the net benefit is broadly shared and that very specific parts of the country, specific sectors of the economy aren't left holding the bag for this economic transition that we know is coming.